Okay, let's make a start then. So this is to help you through the first question, the most difficult one, in Friday's writing exam. Okay, question 1 asks you to do two things. It asks you to write and it asks you to read. Now, as I'll show you, the reading marks, these 10 for reading marks, are actually given away to you. This is a super fair exam, and the whole point of this exam is to give you credit for what you can do. We're going to start by looking at the 15 marks for writing. So this is what the instructions are to the examiners. All examiners are instructed that alternative correct answers and unexpected approaches must be given marks. The reason that's so important, it means you can't be wrong. If you've read something and interpreted it your way, as long as you can back that up, you will get the marks. This is an incredibly fair exam. It's much fairer than the OCR. Then, the second thing, it has a tiny little warning. The content must be clearly related and derived from the passage. So you will get a passage, and you can't just make stuff up. You have to have used the passage to come up with your answer. Okay. I'm going to start in reverse order and show you what you get a low mark for. You'll notice the marks are in bands, not in grades, so I can't tell you precisely what grade that would be, but it wouldn't be a C. So it's useful for us to think, well, what is it that's going to stop me getting the C? Well, it's going to be inconsistent in style, and you're going to have to write something for a particular audience. And if you're not addressing that audience, if that audience won't get what you're writing, it's inconsistent. Badly constructed sentences. So if you haven't thought about the sentences, you'll drop marks. Vocabulary is simple. So if you haven't thought about the words that you're going to choose, you'll get low marks. Basic structure. Everyone knows to write beginning, middle and end. Basic structure is boring connectives. Now, then, next, firstly, secondly. Right? Interesting connectives, although, however, nevertheless, on the other hand. So that means use some interesting connectives. Once you do that, your structure can't be boring, you're going to go up a band. Frequent errors, including sentence separation. Now I've added this bit here to translate what sentence separation means, and I get this a lot. Using a comma instead of a full stop. So that's one thing. If you use a comma instead of a full stop, you will not get a decent grade in this exam. So if in doubt, use the full stop. Yeah? You have to get that bit right. Now, what you'll find here is that spelling isn't directly mentioned. So you might get frequent errors in spelling, but those aren't as important as the commas one. So the examiners aren't too hung up about spelling. In fact, they're saying your vocabulary is boring because maybe you're worried about trying to spell the right word. So you get more marks for putting the right word in, yeah, than spelling it wrong gets marks taken away. So if in doubt, put in the right word. Doesn't matter if you can't spell it, use it anyway. Let's look at the band above. So here, you have taken account of the audience, but not very well. So you're possibly sitting there thinking, well, hang on, if I'm writing a letter to a head teacher or to a parent, I can probably do that well all the way through. Yeah, and if you can, you're going to go beyond band 3. The examiners don't make any content on the style of your writing or how fluent it is. And in other words, your writing doesn't have to be that good as long as you're trying things out. How are you going to try things out? Well, number 4 says you're going to use correctly constructed sentences. That same rule, making sure your commas are in the right place. With correctly constructed sentences, you are going to want to use commas, but correctly. 5. Vocabulary may be plain but adequate for the task. So here, you're trying to use the right words. You might not always pull it off, it might still be plain, but you're trying to use the right words, you're getting into band 3. So this is probably where we imagine the C grade might be. Yeah? Hopefully, I'm showing you that it's not that difficult to get the grade C. I have to bear in mind who I'm writing for. I don't have to be particularly stylish or brilliant at writing. I don't have to be particularly fluent, Again, brilliant at writing. Now I'm going to structure it with decent sentences. I'm going to get my commas right. Now I'm going to think of the best words that I can. I'm not going to worry about the spelling. Mostly quite well structured. Thinking back to my connectives again. However, although, because, nevertheless, on the other hand, those sorts of connectives will force the examiner to say it's well structured. There is one way of getting the structure wrong, and I see this a lot. I'm going to look especially at Tom as I say this. People who forget to paragraph. If you don't paragraph, it's not well structured. Now you all know how to paragraph, but it's remembering it in the exam when you're under stress. So when you go into the exam, I would write on the top of your page paragraphs. The next word I'd write is commas. The next word I'd write is although, because, however, on the other hand. I'd have that as a mental checklist right on my page so that I knew I was going to use those. When I finish talking, I'm going to ask you to write those down. Okay? Alright, so I've got to paragraph it, but there is no examiner comment on sequence. In other words, if I took something that's paragraphed, chopped it all up, put it back together again, if the sequence isn't very good, I could change the order and it wouldn't matter. The examiner will still give you the mark. If the sequence is really good, it goes back in the same order I got it in, because you couldn't rearrange it a different way because of the way you've written your paragraphs. So amazingly, I can get into band 3 with stuff that's not that well written. However, and I've put it in purple, errors are minor. So we don't want many mistakes. Or, if you've made a mistake, it's a spelling mistake because I can still understand the word, but it's not a punctuation mistake, which changes the meaning of your writing. So this is the examiner saying, pay attention, punctuation, accuracy of punctuation is really important here. Get that right. The good news is, you have 1 hour to write a maximum of 2 sides. 1 hour for 2 sides, that is amazing. But the reason for it is, they expect you to write your 2 sides quite quickly, half an hour, 40 minutes, and then 20 minutes, I'm not exaggerating, 20 minutes to go back and think, I've got to get my mistakes to be minor. I'll still make some mistakes, but I've got to get rid of every single one I can possibly find. And that checking is going to make sure you get at least into this band. Right, let's see how we do higher up the bands. So, this is band 2. We'd imagine grade B must be there. Well, what do I have to do? Well, I'm still writing for my audience, yeah, for my head teacher or my parent, what have you. Mostly secure. Sometimes I might even make a mistake there, put in some language that's too friendly, but the examiner's going to say that's okay, because it's still mostly, it's not all the time. There is evidence of style, so you're now starting to think, what would that head teacher or that parent want to hear from me? How am I going to use the right words to really persuade that person? And that's where style is. Who's it written for? I've got to persuade them. They're the ones I've got to impress. Fluency is the same as style. Sentences are effective. Well, you all write in sentences, don't you? So that's probably going to come easily to you. Vocabulary is effective. Again, you reach for that right word. Yeah? I want to moan about the state of school dinners. Moan isn't the right word. I want to complain about the state of school dinners. That's a good word. Better word? I would like to protest about the school dinners that we are fed at Chipping Campbell School. Yeah? So you're thinking about the actual words. Usually, those words will be your verbs, your doing words. Moan, complain, protest. Yeah, your doing words, if you're thinking about them, you'll get that. Your vocabulary will be effective. Secure overall structure. Can anyone tell me the connectives that I keep banging on about? Let's have one each.
However. On the other hand, also.
I didn't say also. Also is banned. I've never mentioned also. We've had it.
Therefore.
didn't mention it, but you're right, therefore. Yeah? Reach for those connectives and you will have a secure overall structure. I allow you one also. The reason why, if we go back, simple vocabulary, that's also says this is simple to an examiner. Yeah? Because can we have a more complex word for also? In, add, in addition, sounds like a stupid dance. In addition means also. Another one beginning with M. It's got over at the end of it. Begins with M. Moreover, thank you very much. Now they look quite so stupid on the video. Okay. So Tom, why did I say that? What did I want you to avoid?
Simple book.
Brilliant. And in particular, which word?
Also.
Thank you. Okay. Mostly well sequenced. Again, if we're talking about the chopping up, most of the paragraphs will be arranged in that order. It's very easy. For example, if you've made a point here, and then you've said however, and made a new point here, you can see how the however point has to go with that point, doesn't it? It wouldn't fit anywhere else in your writing. So using those connectives forces you to be well sequenced. And then again, writing is mainly accurate. So you can make spelling mistakes and still get a B. You can still get into band 2. So let's look at the top band. What do you have to do there? The person that I'm writing for, I do it with every single word. I'm consistent all the way through. It fits that person. It's authoritative. That means I sound like I really know what I'm talking about. I use the language of the expert. It's fluent. Well, that basically means I've connected it really well. My language is brilliant. My sentences are brilliant. So fluent is only repeating the other stuff that we've got here. Varied sentences. In my lessons, we've practiced lots of different ways of varying sentences. Starting a sentence with an adverb, an ly word. Suddenly, amazingly, surprisingly. Starting a sentence with a verb, a word that ends in ing. Stumbling into the canteen, I noticed the mess everywhere. Now you start a sentence with a verb. It's a variety of sentence. Starting a sentence with a connective. Although I didn't feel well today, I still came into school. Gives you a bit of variety. Another one is the type of sentences. You've probably been taught in your persuasive writings to use rules of 3, patterns of 3. I woke up this morning, put on my best outfit, sprayed myself with cologne, but forgot that I hadn't washed. Yeah, you have a list of 3 things. It gives your sentences some interest and variety. Having a 1 to 3 word sentence. Oh my God! Exclamation mark. Yeah, it brings the reader to attention. You can do have quite a lot of effects like that. You can have like a single sentence, single word sentence. Boring. Full stop. New paragraph. Yeah, you can play with the idea of sentences. Oh gosh. And I have got videos on YouTube that show you how to do that. A wide range of vocabulary. So we've talked about that before. Choosing the best words all the time. A strong sense of structure. So now, when I chop those paragraphs up, they go back in the order you wrote them. Because of the way you've written. Those connectives are absolutely spot on. Virtually no error. Realistically, most candidates are going to make mistakes. So you could say, well, they're not going to get the A or the A star. However, that's only 0.8 out of 13 to 15 marks. So I might get 13 because I've got the other things. That's really encouraging. It's a really fair exam. Bear in mind my advice earlier though. You will finish this question after 40 minutes, but you're given an hour. 20 minutes, make sure you've got no mistakes. 20 minutes to go back and think, actually I could change some of these words. 20 minutes to circle the first word of each of your sentences. Oh, I started 3 words with I, 3 sentences with I. That's boring. I'm going to change 2 of those sentences. Oh, I started 3 sentences with the word then. I'm going to get rid of the word then in 2 of those sentences. Oh, I've started one of my sentences with the here, another one starts with the here, another one starts with the here. I'm going to change 2 of those sentences. Yeah, and I teach all my students, if you start every sentence with a different word, I know that sounds ridiculous, but it works. Start every sentence with a different word. You will be doing that. You will be doing that. You will be doing that. Yeah? It's very simple to do. And you've got time in the exam to go back and change. Perfect exam answer is messy. It looks a bit like that. And you will have stuff crossed. This isn't an exam answer, I just nicked it from the table, okay? But you'll have crossings out and things that you've changed. The examiner wants to see that. You've improved your work. You were trying to do this, trying to do that. Yeah? Mess is allowed, as long as the examiner can read it, because you're trying to improve it. You can take a paragraph, cross it out and rewrite the whole paragraph if you want. You've got time. Yeah, so that is my message to you. Use that time and you can't go wrong in this exam. Okay, so that is the writing part of question 1. Now I'm going to tell you about the reading part. And I began by saying that the reading marks, of which there are 10, are pretty much just given to you. Let's see what I mean by that. Well, this is a lower band. Select points from the passage. Yeah, I can do that. Read a passage and pick out a few points. Rather literally. Alright, so I might just pick out a few facts. Uses the material thinly. So it doesn't use many facts from the passage. Well, I reckon I could use more than a few facts. I'm imagining is what you're thinking. So you're going to get higher than this. Does not combine points into a connected response. Ah, so what does the examiner mean? I might have a fact here, fact there. They all come from the passage, but they're not combined. Yes.
Doesn't link them to the question.
Excellent, doesn't link them. What have I been teaching you several times to show you how to link them? Though, however, therefore, because, consequently. Yeah, so if you use those connectives, you must be linking, which is Tom's translation of combine. You must be combining. You can't get in band 4, you must be higher. That all comes from the connectives. Let's go up to the next band. Reproduces a number of points. Oh, okay. 4 maybe? I pick 4 things from the passage. They have to put me in band 3. 4 things is better than just selects points. Well, that's easy, isn't it? I've got an hour in this exam. And by the way, the passage is just a piece of A4. I'll show you a piece in a minute. It's not long. So yeah, I'm going to get 4 facts. No problem. Or more. The response covers the material adequately. May miss opportunities to develop it relevantly or at length. Oh, okay. So if I write less than 2 sides, maybe I'm not going to get the marks. But the examiner does say you can write 1.5 to 2 sides. So I'm going to write at least 1.5. If I write at least 1.5, probably met that. I've used my connectives well. I've got at least 4 points. I'm going to ace this exam, band 2. Some evidence of evaluation. Okay, let's go back to my connectives. Some of the connectives I gave you force you to make a judgment where you say one thing is better than another. Can you think of a connective that will force you to make a judgment? Yes.
On the other hand.
Good. Yeah? Point number 1. On the other hand, point number 2. Now I'm making a judgment. I must be evaluating. Can you give me another one? Although, blah de blah de blah, I think, blah de blah de blah. I've evaluated. Yeah, however, will also do the same thing. So if you use those connectives, you are evaluating, you are at least in band 2, you must get into the B grade, even if your other stuff isn't so good. So the connectives have counted twice. Your writing mark, your reading mark. Yeah, they are golden to you, because they count twice. Bonus points. Right, Engaging with a few of the main points with success. So you've taken your 4 facts from the passage that you read, and you've developed a couple of them. That will work there. Uses reading material to support the argument. So let's imagine that you had to write about school dinners, and one of the passage that they gave you was about a fictional school where these Year 7 children were complaining about their food. Yeah? If you wrote your answer, writing down what you think about school dinners, you would fail that. Why? Because you've got a passage that tells you about this Year 7 in this other school, what they think about school dinners. So you would have to use that, the reading material in front of you. So the warning there is, don't just write what's in your head, don't just write your opinion, give opinions from the piece that you're reading. Occasionally, effective development. So that, again, is finding the facts in the piece, thinking about them, but not brilliantly, because you've only done it occasionally. So what do we need for the top band? Okay, I've got to be convincing. So my therefores, my howevers, my althose, got to have really good points with them. I've got to read between the lines. So my Year 7 child might be complaining about the food, but I might realise that actually this person is only complaining because they want chips and chocolate every day. Yeah? And so reading between the lines, I don't have to take too much of that child's complaint seriously. What I've got to do is educate them about a proper diet. Yeah, so reading between the lines is you look beyond the words. You ask yourself, now what's really going on here? What's in that kid's head, or what's in that person's head? You've all practiced that for your literature coursework. You can all do that. What's in that person's head? That's interpret, that's reading between the lines. Okay, shows understanding by developing much of the reading material. So I take the evidence from what I've read, I put my own ideas with it, I'm developing. Integrating it into the response to the task. So I might write 6 paragraphs. In each one of those paragraphs I'll have some evidence that I've taken from the text, plus my own idea. Yeah, I've joined them together. The ideas from the text, my ideas, put them together, I've integrated. That's only 4 paragraphs, isn't it? Imagine I had 6 fingers. Shouldn't be hard, we live in Gloucestershire. Yeah, never mind. 6 fingers. 6 paragraphs. So, that's what question 1 will look like. Read the magazine article opposite about a street child called Emmanuel who has achieved educational success. Okay. You are Sister Jean. Write a letter to persuade local businesses to donate money to expand the work of the Archway Children's Centre. So, if you remember, we talked about the audience. Yeah? To get into the top band. So, who's my audience?
The local business.
Brilliant. I've got to persuade that audience. Yes, I've got to come up with really brilliant reasons. Why? What sort of language am I going to use to persuade local business people? Any offers? Let me rephrase the question. If I had formal language that you'd find in the Times newspaper at the top of my board, and informal language that you might use in an argument at home, down here, what sort of language would you use? You're going for the top. That's it. You're thinking. Yeah, many students say to me, posh words, sir. Yeah. So I'll say, why not? You understand what that means? That means be as posh as you can. Simple as that. Be posh, you'll get the marks. Okay, I'm going to ask you to look at that bit. What is the thing I've actually got to persuade them about? Okay, that was easy, wasn't it? Yeah, but you'll be surprised, in the exam, students often forget what they're actually trying to persuade. Okay, so that tells you who your audience is, and you've already seen that gets you into band 1. This exam is so helpful, they give you even more tips in the question. So that's the next bit of your question. That's actually on the question paper. In your letter you should do these three things. Explain the work of the centre, why it's necessary. Use Emmanuel's story to support your appeal. Give reasons why local businesses should support the centre. Which one of those are you going to use your connectives with? I mean, you might say all of them, yeah, but there's one that jumps out, which is the one where you've got to use loads of connectives.
Reasons.
Good. With your reasons, yeah? Most importantly, moreover, in addition, however, alternatively, on the other hand, with your reasons. Yeah, so the examiner is actually making this easy for you, because by telling you to do that, the examiner is forcing you to use connectives, which is forcing you to have varied sentences, which is forcing you to get into the top bands. So those connectives suddenly become really, really easy ways to get marks. Which bullet points are you going to have to get reasons from the texts in? So you're going to read this text, yeah, you've got 3 bullet points. Where are you going to get evidence from the text? Which bullet points?
Using Manuel's story.
Good. So that's all going to be about him, isn't it? Yeah, and possibly in a different part of the text, there'll be what the centre does. Very easy for you to find, yeah? You only need a few examples, one in each paragraph, and you're going to get the grade. Now, not only does the examiner give you all that help, there's a third bit of help they give you. Oh, I've just highlighted what the keywords were that we've just discussed. We didn't miss any of those, did we? So, then it says, base your letter on what you've read in the magazine article. Don't just tell me what's in your head and your opinion. You won't get the mark. Base it on what's in the magazine article. Be careful to use your own words. Yeah, that means I don't take a sentence out of here and copy it into my answer. Try to use my own words. Don't copy. Are you allowed to use quotation marks if it says that?
No.
No. Use your own words, don't use quotation marks. Right. Amazingly, it says, this is how I want you to start your letter. Actually tells you how to start. Dear local businesses. Then it reminds you, as I have, you only have to write 1.5 to 2 sides, which should take you how long have I been saying?
40 minutes.
Which leaves you how long to check?
20 minutes.
Good. Up to 10 marks are available for the content of your answer. That's the reading mark. And 15 marks for the quality of your writing, which we looked at before. So, I hope I've shown you that the examiners are actually giving you the marks away. All the information you need to answer this is in the passage, and all the skills are really easy to do. Hurrah. Okay, let's recap then. I need 2 connectives each, and we'll do one at a time.
On the other hand, however.
Oh, sorry, I said one at a time, but you've used your 2 lives, but it makes it harder for you guys.
Although, therefore.
The one instead of also?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
In, begins with A, ends in shun.
I've got mine.
I don't care about you. In addition. I'm coming back to you though, which is the other one that means in addition and also? It is. Oh, I feel good now. Tom, got me wrong? Come on, give me another one.
Did you say however? Someone said that?
Yeah.
And someone said on the other hand. Therefore.
Cool, you can stop filming now.